I think the mic was live before we started. Okay. Happy Festool Friday. Like always, it's Festool Live. We're here in Lebanon, Indiana. Woohoo! Heart of the Midwest at the Festool Training Center in Festool HQ, North America. Okay, so here we go. I want to call out, of course, right here. Let's get him in there. This is Big D. He's the guy running the board today. Boy, we're starting to sound professional. Right here is Chris. He is the main man, cameraman. He's our executive producer. We now have Philip from home watching. He's our producer. Minnie is right here on the whiteboard. I also want to thank Brent. I know you are online. He's our other trainer. He's answering any of your questions. And I also have, because he just said he was on, Jason Bent from Bent's Woodworking. I spent the morning yesterday at his shop in Indiana. Okay, now, I always call out a department at Festool here, and I want to thank Benjamin and his team in finance for paying us. Just kidding. No, for doing all the financial work here at Festool. You guys are a major cog in our system, and we love you, and we thank you so much. Okay, because it is truly a team effort here at Festool North America. Okay, boy, now, I got to preempt today's live. Holy moly, thank you for watching, if I don't get a chance to say at the end. This is going to be quite lengthy, I think. Okay? We will answer any questions you have, but the demo part of it is my favorite accessory at Festool to teach you. Okay? It's the LR32 system, the 32 millimeter hole drilling system at Festool. Okay? I like to make it really easy for you to understand. Okay. In saying that, we're on YouTube. It's going to live on YouTube going forward, so you can go back and review. Also, we'll have it on IG and Facebook, okay? All those different platforms. Okay, so let's get started. Whew. And the tough thing is where do we get started? I'm going to talk about the LR32 hole drilling system, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about frameless cabinets. And yes, you can use this with face frame cabinets. What the LR, let's say, well, first let's start, what is it? Let's come over here, Chris. Let's look inside. This is the LR32 system, okay? It works with only two routers at Festool. It works with the OF1010. It works with the OF1400. Now, some of you out there may have had an OF1010 that says OF1000. It'll work for it, okay? That's an older router of ours. The update was the 1010. You also need a guide rail, okay? These holes are spaced 32 millimeters apart. I'll just spin this around so we can all see it. You'll see where it says 1400. Okay, it's a 55-inch rail. Okay, but it's the LR32. These holes are precisely precision bored at 32 millimeter increments. Yes, you can connect rails. We have time. I can show you how to connect them and show the perfect progression of 32 millimeter holes with that. It's actually built into our system. Also, we have here, I'll get over here. I got stuff set up everywhere today. Okay, we have a longer rail. Okay, it's the 2,424 millimeter or 95 inch. Okay, so if you have something longer, say you're doing a pantry cabinet, okay, or say a wall unit, entertainment center cabinet, you can do that. Office stuff. No worries, office cabinetry, tall cabinetry, okay? But once again, you can connect them. Okay, so those are the two things you need. You need a router, Festool router only, and you need the rail, and then you also need this kit. Now, once again, let's get in here, okay, Chris? Check this out. Tell me that doesn't look wicked confusing, okay? It's actually pretty daggone simple, okay? I'm going to pull everything out so you can see them. I'm also today going to show you, because this is my personal one, I'm going to show you a couple of hacks that I have so I can actually see a few scales, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay. Very quickly, these are the parallel guides, parallel stops. Okay. You'll understand how all this goes together in just a few minutes. But once again, you need to calibrate this system. And I will show you all the little calibration tips and tricks on it. Okay, it comes with a plate, and really simply on the plate, this pin right here is there's a little rocker tab here that pulls it up, and that's the pin that actually rides in these holes. Okay, you have to mount the router to this plate properly, and this helps you index all the holes to punch it out. Now, when I start pulling everything out and showing you this, it's rather simple once you understand you only have to set it up once, okay? And then you mark the rail, and once you get it set up, calibrated once, but once you get it set up, you can knock out panels wicked quick, okay? It comes with 2 clamps. I'll show you how that works, and I'll show you another clamp that I prefer to use. It comes with a couple screws. These are for mounting the 1400. I'll show you those, okay? This is what you have to use, whether the 1400 or the 1010. Everybody thinks it's just for the 1010. It's not. You have to use this for the 1400 because there's a little play in the screw threads. What else? This is the most confusing part of the whole system. I'll demystify that. It's so easy. All right. Now, this is the bit we're going to be using today. All right. It is a 5mm flat bottom boring bit. It's really not that boring. It's kind of exciting. No, just kidding. Okay. Now, it also comes with this one. And I did a post not too long ago, and everybody says, what's this for? Okay, so Chris, I'm going to have you back up very slowly, okay? And when we're boring the holes or system holes on this side, and this is what I'm going to use today to do a side of a cabinet, okay, for all your, and I'm going to just get in your way for a second. Chris, come back over here. Okay? These holes here, okay, everybody thinks, oh, that's how I do my shelf pin holes. Yes, but we call them system holes because inside those 5mm holes, okay, you can also put these, and these are your hinge, or you could use coarse 5mm screws, okay, and that's for your hinge plates, and that's how your hinge snaps in there. Now, here's the point I want to point out for you right here. See this right here? Okay, those are 32mm spacing apart. By the way, everybody's hinges are like this. Okay, in the set, see how the this part here goes right in between the middle? That's very important because that'll explain the numbers that we have on the end stops. Okay, so let's come over here. Woohoo! So everybody wants to know what that's for because that's 5mm. Say I have a center panel, and I used this recently because I built this cabinet for last week's demonstration on the DF500 connectors. Okay, but when you do a center panel, you don't want to go this way and then come back and do this way. You want to do it in one step. So what this allows us to do is come from only one side, and as I come out right there, I don't break the veneer. Okay, it's a high angle piercing bit. Okay, we won't be using that today, but you know what it's for now. Okay, now, there's a third bit in here, and this is a 35mm diameter bit. It works in a router, okay? It's not a Forstner bit that works in a drill. But what that is for drilling on the door side, the cup hinge for this right here, okay? So we get to it today, we get to it. If not, that's another episode. All righty, let's see. Wait a minute, confused yet? It's not. Okay, so I'm going to take this out. I'm going to get these clamps. I want to make sure you guys have a really good view of everything. And I'll set my screws right here because we're going to use the 1400. All right, let's do some calibration. I'm going to turn on my Vaxis. Hey, Derek, just wave your hand if that audio's the right height. Good? Okay, so I just want a nice stable area. Let me get my Vaxis going here. I've locked it in. I'm all set. All right. Okay. When we set this up, the first thing I'll do, Chris, I'm just going to sneak here. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right. As I move things, I don't want to forget things. Everybody thinks this is just for shelf pins and hinge plates, but you can also set up and do your drawer slides. I'll show you this probably in the future, doing a drawer bank with these or the LR32. And once you walk away from today's episode, you understand, well, I really don't need to be taught that. I kind of figured it out. There's certain numbers in 32mm systems that are standards. Okay, so let me grab my rail. Okay, and the first thing I want to do is I want to calibrate the parallel edge stops. Okay. Oh my God, sorry, I skipped a step. Boop. Okay. You got whoever has a track saw out there. Okay. Whenever you put something on this rib or your track, so what do? You got to knock out the lateral tolerance, right? Okay. Well, same thing with this plate. You got to knock out the You got to knock out the lateral tolerance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb here and take out and go like this. I've calibrated this, but I want to show you where the calibration is. Let's look here. See this? If there was wiggle in there, it wasn't perfect like this is right now. I would take a screwdriver, okay, and hopefully we get this. Wave if we're getting in there. Okay, see that? Okay. You have to use a Festool screwdriver for this. I'm just kidding. Stop laughing. You're shaking the camera. Okay? There's a little flathead screw in here. And I know you can't see that. I apologize. And what I'm doing is I'm turning it in very small increments that pushes this piece of plastic. So what that equates to is, guess what? Now I've knocked out all that lateral tolerance, but it still rides smooth. I always check it there. Okay, next, I'm going to remove these. These are the way the 1010 mounts to the plate. Okay, but I want to remove it for clarity so you can see so you can see how the 1010 mounts in there. You'll understand it after I mount the 1400. Okay, those lock to the top of the base here. All right, now let's calibrate these. So some of you have those already, and I'm just going to grab this here, and right here. I want to show you this. I am going to take these, and people who have this go, "Oh my God, that's a good idea," because every time I break out this set, everybody goes, "How did you do that?" Okay, I'm going to take this, and let me get my really good one right here, okay? See how it says 0 right here? The one line I use all the time is not the 0 numeral, but that line, that's 0. Okay, the ones you might have, they're really hard to see. You always have to rake a light. What I did is I just took some white lacquer, I put it on there, I let it dry, and I just took a little bit of granite sandpaper, and that really pops that. That's one of those hacks I wanted to show you. Okay, so you see 0 right here, right? I'm going to take that and line up 0 to 0. This allows us to get from the front and back absolutely perfect, that guide rail, absolutely perfect parallel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to tighten this. Okay. Now you notice I'm doing my calibration without mounting the router, and there's a reason. You see this notch right here? That's the center line on my bit. Okay. So if this is set at 0, and I take this, Chris, I'm going to have you swing right here. Okay. See this? See how that pin goes right in there? No problem. Okay. I'm going to verify my other one because I haven't yet. I'll just take this. I'll set it at 0, just like this. Woo! Okay. Put it right on here, and I'm going to slide it right in. Okay, so these are calibrated. What if I have to calibrate them? Almost every one I've ever popped out of the case, I had to calibrate. No worries. You see this screw? It's 5 millimeter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to release this. Now, this is set at 0. It's set on my mark at 0. Look, see the movement in here? So what I'm going to do is I'll take this. And here's one of the things I ran into my first year with this, is I would take this. Chris, hopefully we can see this. Derek, wave if we have it. See how there's a space there, and you see how this is in perfect parallel. You see how this is right up against here? Okay, I used to do this all the time. Push it like this, and see how that's canted? So when I tighten the screw, it would move ever so slightly. So what I do is I just take this, and I hold it here, okay, just like that, so it's perfectly parallel. I see that space, and then I tighten this. Okay, I'll take it off. You only have to tighten this on this rib once, and then you can pull it and push it off. So I'm just going to tighten it. I'm almost done with calibration. Okay, so the plate's calibrated. My parallel stops are calibrated. I am going to now set up the router on the plate. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my router on the side. I'm going to grab my wrench. Okay, and I'm going to mount this. It's called a centering mandrel. Check this out. It perfectly centers the router on the plate. And that's an 8 millimeter shank, so that goes right in here. Okay, just like this. Okay, and what I do is I like to tighten it. I don't kill it, but I just tighten it. All right, I use that ratcheting collet. Okay, close enough. And then what I'll do is I'll take this, okay, and then I'll mount it. I always got to remember how it mounts. So what I'll do is, you see these 2 threaded holes? That's where these screws go in. Let me get those over here. Okay, and then I'm going to take it like this, and I always got to figure out how it mounts. Of course, it mounts this way, because look, those holes appear properly like that. Don't ask me why I always forget, but I do. So I'll just take this, and I'll get those screws in the threaded hole, just like this, and do this. Easy, easy. All right, we're looking pretty good. So I am going to grab a Festool screwdriver. Remember, you got to use the right one. Okay, I don't like to change tips. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to get it close to tight. Now, I had a friend once to say that his shelf pin holes were off just a hair. And I talked him through this and talked him through this. And what he emailed me afterwards and said that was the cause of it. He wasn't using the centering mandrel. He thought, look, there was no play in this when he mounted it. There is. So you still got to use the centering mandrel. I like to take it like this and tighten it. So kind of hands-free, and then I can tighten my screws. I always like to do things easy. Easy is successful. Okay, there we go. I'm going to take that. See how I'm not putting it, because I have to, like this? I could create torque when I'm changing the bit. I want it to remain centered on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the bit. I think I have it in here. Whoop, 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 whoop. And I do. There you are. I'm going to remove the centering mandrel. Man, I got to remember, what am I doing this weekend? Oh, yeah. Okay, so is everybody having fun? I hope so. Okay, so I'm going to mount the bit in. Listen, I always, just a quick reference, you see how there's that flute continues up? I mount it right to that top of that flute. That always gives me enough depth or enough bit. So let me get that in there. And Chris, hopefully you can get that shot right in there. And then I'm going to start to tighten it up. Okay? It just seems more and more my go-to router is the 1400. I just love the power on this. I used to always use pretty much exclusively the 1010 for this, but I've just gotten so used to this. It's a great router. Okay, so let's talk about setting up the rail. Okay? Look, I'm going to take these, and let's talk about some measurements. 32 millimeter cabinetry, whether on the small cabinet or on the big cabinet. I'm going to pop this off. Okay? Okay, so this is how I was taught. All right? From the top here, on the outside of the cabinet, which you'll see in a minute, the distance from the top to the first hole is 80 millimeters. And then it's just a continuation of 32 millimeter spacing. And from the bottom to the first hole of your hinge plate. Okay? Now, I could have continued these holes, and maybe you can see this, maybe you can't, but I could have started here and gone all the way down to here. But what I want to do is, and it's just really funny, kitchen guys out there will always tell you, I've experienced this. I've gone back to a kitchen I built 2 years later. Adjustable shelving, the household never moved the shelf where I put it, okay? But I built something in my basement a few years ago, and I needed all these holes in here because I needed to stack my soda glasses, and I collect soda glasses. So there you go, if you believe that. All right, so these are your hinge plates. Now, the other measurement, people don't know this, and it's a common number. From the front and back of the cabinet to the center of this hole is 37 millimeters. Write that down at home. Okay? From here to the center is 37 millimeters. Remember, this is 80 to the first hole. So everybody says, oh, this is a really good system for your hinge plates and also for your shelf pins. But it's also for drawers. That's one word I have a tough time. Drawer slides. Okay? Okay, so this is a manufacturer, hopefully. Okay? There's always a hole. And this is where I want you to really pay attention. Okay? There's always a hole on here for that 37 millimeter. Now, you have to look, and it's actually, if we can read that tape, it actually reads basically 35 to that first hole. Did you see it? Okay, so it reads from the front 35 to that hole. Well, you got to remember when you're doing drawers, you always put 2 millimeters. So let's do this, because everybody makes fun of my math. What's 35 plus 2? 37. So you can drill that 37 millimeter from the front and nail that hole, okay? All drawer slides have that, even on these. And it's from the front right here. And maybe you can see that. That's 35. Okay? So add 2. There's your 37. Okay? And then I was talking to Jace yesterday, and he's doing inset. So he's got to calculate for his whole system on his drawer boxes, because he's doing an inset, 2 millimeter plus the thickness of his what? Door stock or drawer stock. So he'll have overall 20 because he's using 18 millimeter ply or melamine, and then he's got to add that 37 to it. So that's how he gets that. Hopefully you follow that for his drawer boxes. Or it's for full overlay. You just have to calculate. It's already done. You can use that 37 millimeter. All right. I think I've covered all the measurements I need, so let's set it up. This is why we have the parallel stops. I'm going to set these at 37 millimeter. Man, hopefully no one's sleeping at home. All right, because I'm going to start punching holes here in a few minutes. Okay, so check this out. There's 35. 36, 37, yeah, these are well worn, but the only line I've ever needed was that 0 mark. Okay, so I have this. Check it out. Check it out. I'm going to press these on here. All right? I am basically ready to go. Now, I have to orientate my rail. Okay? Now, here's where I love teaching about 32 millimeter cabinetry. A typical ready-to-assemble cabinet is 30 1/4. Okay? That's your base upper cabinet. Okay? Of course, they vary. So I have seen so many videos online, and I get confused watching them because you don't cut on a 32 millimeter increment. And you're asking, what do you mean? See, this panel I cut is called a balanced panel. Okay? And you need to get this, Chris, because this is 768. You see this little dot right here? Okay? Each one of these little dots or triangles is a 32 millimeter increment. But here's where I want you to pay attention. Check this out. It's actually 30 1/4. Okay? So somebody asked me one time in cabinet class, hey, I'm doing I build an Imperial. Big deal. I've never had a kitchen customer ever say to me, hey, you owe me a couple of millimeters, or you're short, or it's 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters shy. Here's what I'm getting at. If you're measuring up a cabinet, say it's over a radar range or whatever, say that's 20 inches. Check this out. Cut your panel, look, 1/8 of an inch bigger or taller to 512. Follow? It helps you measure so you have a balanced panel, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay? It'll eliminate a lot of confusing videos out there because you really don't have to label this. I know this is the front. I know this is the back because that's where my groove is. Okay? I always label bottom and top because I always reference the bottom. But here's the thing. You'll see all these videos with all kinds of dots and stickers. One's for the right side, one's for the left side, one set is for the front, one side's for the back. It's because they're not using a balanced panel. So I tell everybody, and you know what's really cool? Every one of those dots on this tape or triangles is just like your typical, because you know when you open up a tape like this, you have these marks, 16 on center. What are those for studs? You have it on this tape for 32 millimeter cabinetry. Okay, good. Whew, let's get back to it. So now, remember my increment. I need to start at 80. So this is where this comes in. So here comes the math at home. What's half of 32? Minnie? Boy, is she good at math. Okay, I am going to call you Miss Metric today. Okay, so check it out. You have some numbers on here. You have 16 and you have 32. Okay, so very important. I'm going to use the 16 side. I always use, and this is the way I was taught, always use the 16 number. And when I first got taught this, I was like, what does he mean up and out? In other words, Chris, sneak in here. I'm going to set this. You see the 16? It's up facing me and out facing me. So I'm going to set this up just like this. I'm going to set it at the end of the rail so you can see it. Okay, and I'm going to take this one and I'm going to flip it. So, and I'm going to say, hey, listen, I didn't cut a balanced panel. This is why you have to have multiple dots if you have it like this. Look, space. But this is a balanced panel. So when I take this, that 16 up and out, I'm going to take it like this. I'm going to put it in like this as I fumble with this. I just want to get my 2 marks. There we go. And you'll see how, check this out. See how I cut this? Whoopsie, I went too far. Sorry, guys. Chris, you're supposed to correct me as I do this. There, okay? Now, as I have it, check it out. Okay, Chris, come up here so we can, everybody can see this. See how it's wedged in there? So it doesn't matter if it's top or bottom. Okay, I'm going to set up 1 set of marks. So I'll flip it over so you can see it. You see how that 16 end stop is halfway in between? I'm going to set it like this, and I'm going to count 3 full holes. That's 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to make a mark here and a mark here. Look, 1, 2, 3. I'll make a mark here and a mark here. Now, I could punch all of them. Say I'm making that bar cupboard for my soda glasses. Okay, or I can do this. Let me grab my tape. What is half of 768? I know this because I've only done this 1,000 times. But I also have a mark here. Check it out. It's 384. There's a diamond right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark my rail here, center line. That's the center of my cabinet. And you got to pick an even number. So look, I'm going to mark my holes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Capiche? So now you see it. See this rail? For all my upper cabinets in that kitchen, I'm already set. Now it's just clamping and unclamping. And I'm going to show you how to speed that up as well. Okay, so last increment of measurement. What is it? How deep do I got to plunge? So I don't want to say it varies, but let's get in here so we can see this. I need this to fully seat. So it'll say 12 millimeter. These are the pins that go in my shelves. I always pick the largest. That's basically 8.5. Okay, so I'm going to pick 12 millimeter. Chris, come on over so we can do this. Now, quick question for you. You want to learn the hard way or the easy way? Okay, let's do the easy. Check this out. Look, see that right there? I'm at ground zero. This is my depth stop rod. Okay? I could use this scale and pull it up and go whatever. Why? Why? What did I say? 12 millimeter? That's wicked easy. Check it out. You have to have Festool dominoes to do this. This is 6. What's 6 plus 6? Man, Minnie, you are Miss Metric today. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do is, look, I'm going down 12 millimeters. Bada boom, bada bing. Keep it easy, everybody. This is the best way to do inlay veneer. Okay, so I'm going to take it. I'm going to get my dust extraction up, just so I don't forget it. Remember, on the 1400, this window opens up. You have 2 tenons here, and you have 2 mortises here. And you got, and the way I've always remembered this is at Festool, we've always put the majority of the time, the plug-it cord and the hose in the same line. It's just ergonomically perfect. Okay, so I am ready to go here. Now, let's get these set up. I got the end stops on. I got the parallel stops here. Okay, and you see how that just goes right up against there? Perfect system. Now, check out the clamps. Always, it has to be clamped. You don't want this to be moved, okay? Because you don't want to ruin this. You have a lot of work in the panel already. You've ripped it precisely. You've cross-cut it precisely. You've edge-banded it perfectly with the Festool Conturo. And you've created the groove for your back. You've got a lot of work in there. Clamp it, okay? You don't want to take that chance of it moving. Okay, so you see how I have that like that? All right. Now, I always verify I'm up against here and here. I wish you guys had been in my shop a couple of weeks ago, because when I was punching out a cabinet for something, I didn't check those pins, and it had slightly, as I clamped it, pulled away. So luckily I was able to salvage it. Okay, let's get the dust extraction hooked up. Remember, I showed you in a video about these arrows that are on there. I highlight them in white so it pops it. Same thing with, and you know what, Chris? I'm going to pull this out so we can get a better shot of that. This won't ever come out if I take it like this and lock it in. It's a lock-on feature. So I'm going to take that, lock it on like that. Bada boom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get that hose like that so I have plenty of clearance. And now, before, I learned this a long time ago. Okay, I'm going to go full speed on this because it's just such a small diameter. It's 5 millimeters. Before I ever put a plug-it cord into a tool, okay, I always make sure it's cycled off. Okay, and the other thing I do is I do a quick checklist. Jason's laughing at home because he made me make a mistake on the domino yesterday. Okay, but Chris, come in, come in here. I'm going to check my depth, make sure the turret hasn't moved. I'm going to check my marks, okay? And you see that right there? Okay, that's my viewing window. That's why I marked the rail there. Now, also, Chris, while you're right here, see this right here? When I start to go to these, I just lift it up out of the hole. I let it find its equilibrium. I like to use my thumb, okay? So when I go over here, I make sure I let it, because that's how I used to skip, but that pin is riding right on in between. Okay. Now, I'm going to take it. I'm going to get it started. I'm going to check everything. Here we go. I'm going to take it and lock it on with this little button. And you're going to see how quick I can knock these out. I'm not holding it here. I want perfect downward pressure. And before you move it, and my hand never leaves here, before you move it, you check to see if you nailed every one. And I'm just going to take that and put it right there. Okay? So it's going to get pretty cool here in a minute. And you'll see that's how I do the front. Got it? Good. Now we're moving. I'm going to flip it around so I have good access. And think about this. I have 10 upper cabinets. What's 10 times 2, Minnie? So I have 20 sides to punch, okay? And I am taking these clamps on and off. I had been using this for other applications, but I want to show you the setup on it because I think this is a great clamp that goes missing in the Festool system. You're going to notice this is like those clamps that are out there in the market you can get, like I won't name a brand or so, and you have this one, okay? It's basically a quick clamp. That's why we call it the FS Rapid clamp. Now, when you set up this part of it, it slides in here like this. I'm going to get a really good square here because this one is permanent or semi-permanent. I put it right up against the end stop, and I bring it in, and I lock it back, okay? There's the first part. This one is variable. And the release is right here. And if the handle gets in the way, this can flip out of the way. So when I put this on, I'm going to set it just shy of the end. So this will allow me, and let me get it on there, this will allow me to get perfect access to this. So I'll use this square as a quick lineup so I'm not even with it. And I'll back it off like this, and I'll lock it in. Okay, follow? So watch. I'll just take it and say I'm in the middle of the board. Look, I'm ready to go. I'm not going on this side or this side. And it works absolutely perfect. Remember I said you always clamp it. Good. So I'm going to release it so I can get these in here. Now, 37 millimeters. That's the other increment. Chris, I hope you don't trip here. Okay, now, I could, and we put our backs in here, and this is how I always built a frameless upper. Okay, it's just the way I built them, is I go 18 millimeters like this, and I'll turn it around so you can see, because I put my nailers here. I don't want to open a cabinet. Okay, ooh, put our sanitizer here. Okay, I don't want to open up a cabinet and see a nailer here, like you will see. But is it the same thing? It is. A box is a box is a box. It's all depends on how you build that box. Okay, so, here we go. I don't want to, if I went from the back of the cabinet here, from the inside, and did 37 millimeters, that hinge plate hole would be right here. Okay? I want it, when I open the cabinet, I want it to be aesthetically pleasing. So what I will do is, instead of putting this here and recalculating, I will put my end stops on here. Anybody know the size of that pin? Guess. 6 millimeter. Okay. Okay. So when I take that and put it in there, we'll say 5 millimeter, Big D. Okay, check that out. Now I could take this. Look how easy it is to clamp this. Look, boom. So now I'm going to punch that back set of holes. I'm using the same layout marks. I'm just going to take this, and here we go. And once you get in the rhythm, you can knock all those cabinets out so quick, super quick. Okay? Wow. So there's the side of your cabinet. Let me take the rail off. Look how easy that is. Man, I just love saving time. Okay? And there, my friends, is the side of the cabinet with your hinge plate holes. Okay, let me get that in there. Okay, I'll just put that in there, lock it back. That's in there, and your shelf pin holes. Okay, that are adjustable on that center, and you don't have all the holes in between. Cool? I think I've covered my basic outline. Okay, let me look what we got here. Okay, so let's look. Oh, hey, Joe. How are you? From Chattanooga Woodcraft. We have, this is neat. I don't want to say, of course, we have Canada, but we love you, Canada. You're just north of us. Okay, but we have Malta. We have Michigan. That's another great country. Slovakia. Texas. UK, Netherlands, Tennessee, Poland, Australia, Iran, New Hampshire, baby. Okay. Arizona, Mexico, New York, South Africa, Connecticut. Okay, I thought Minnie put CT. Man, I didn't know we built our dust extractors in Connecticut. Okay, Trinidad and Tobago. Woo! Germany and Brooklyn. All right. Minnie, did I have anything else up there? Okay, so this is what I've done. I had that's a great question, by the way. Let's look at the pin. I've done this, everybody. Okay, I use Renaissance wax. I know it's a brand, but I've also used other furniture wax, and I've actually taken that and put that on there like this and have done that. Okay? Now, I saw earlier up there, Minnie, about doing the cup hinge. Okay? It's pretty simple. You just got to know a few measurements. And I want to talk about cutting the door first. Okay, this is a full overlay. If this is 768, I'm cutting my door because I want a 2 millimeter reveal here and here. Now, eventually, will we do a door making class during Festool Live? Yes, I already have it planned. Okay, we're going to do these domino doors that we designed about 12 years ago. Okay, And I will show you how to measure exactly for a full overlay. Always remember this when you're doing cabinetry. Don't make the door full size and then cut it. That is a recipe for disaster. If you can measure, like I do, 50 times and cut once, you're good to go. Okay? There's a few things you got to understand when cutting the door side. So if these are 768, mini subtract 4. 764. Now, I'm just going to use because I thought I'd get this question. I was just going to use, just say this is a slab door and I need 2 cup hinges to work with the piece I just made, okay? Yes, I got a groove here. My slab door wouldn't be that way. I'm just going to take this and move it off because there's a few tips and tricks I want to show you. The beauty of this is I really don't have to mess with it, okay? I just got to remember for my cup hinge, it's only 1 hole, and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, let's just flip it over really quick. And you got to understand how to do this. Okay, it's because that's what the 32 is on your end stop. You just have to flip them around. So I need to make a hole right here. Okay? Okay, so right here. And this is usually in the directions. Almost every hinge I've ever used. We call this, and it's called the tab. Okay, right here is always, or I don't know the percentage, but almost every hinge I've ever used is that's a 5mm tab. So let's do the math to set the parallel guides. Okay, check this out. This is 35, so I'll write that down, the math. 35 divided by 2 equals what? 17.5 plus 5 is what? 17 plus 5, Big D. 22.5, so I always set my parallel guides at 23. You have adjustment in there. Yep, that's it, right? Is there time? Yep, to measure and drill the door. Absolutely. I know this is lengthy, but I wanted to make sure this got covered today. Okay, so look, I'm going to set that 0 mark at 23. And let me just verify that. Perfect. So that incorporates half of the hinge, because I'm going to bore on center with a 35mm. And that will incorporate the 5mm tab. But what I what I always check is the directions. Or if I'm boring an existing door, like I had to do a reface of a kitchen a few years ago, the tab on these old hinges was 2mm. I'm glad I measured. So I'll take that and set it at 23, just like that. So these are set. My parallel stops are set. Now let's go to the next equation. I have to take this. I'm going to move these. Just to get them out of the way, get this out of the way, see how easy they go on and off, and I need to reset these. You see how that's 16 up and out? I'm now going to flip these and do 32 up and out. That will push it so it sets exactly in the center. So I'll take this, I'll flip it around, just like that, 32 up and out. And believe it, and just so you know, you only really need 1 because you will have, look, movement in there, even if I set this at 32. But remember why we cut these at 64, your door. Because we want a 2mm reveal top and bottom. Okay, that's a standard. I need to put a spacer in there. I have this 2mm edge banding. So when I set this up to do my doors, I'll flip it around so we can see it this way. Okay, I have to count 3 full holes. 1, 2, 3. So when I do my doors, I'll do this. See that? Look, 1, 2, 3. I have a half hole here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I know that's my cup hinge. Pretty simple. I'll just do 1 today so you can see it. But what I also want to do is set my, you know what? I'll just clamp it because I'm looking at the time and I go, holy moly, we've been going 45, eh? So let's set these up. Let's set these up. Boom, boom. Just like this. Make sure that stops there. I'll get this clamp. I'll bore 1 of these so you can see it. Just like this. 5mm tab. Always check to make sure it's up against there. Let's just throw this in there. Boom, boom. So you can see. You see how much quicker those F is. So I always do my cabinets and then I do my doors after. Okay, boom, boom. There you go. Got it. 23 and 23. You see how even it is? What do we got to do now? Guess what we have to do? We have to change the bit. That doesn't take long at all. I'll just remove this. Okay, I'll remove this. Okay, let's do this. Woo, I misplaced my wrench, but I always have plenty close by. Remember I told you, always do it off like this. Get that on there. Okay. And I'm going to do the depth on this. The depth on the 35 millimeter cup hinge, I'm going to reach over here, okay, is 13 millimeters. And I'm going to chuck it up just like this. So the increments to remember, the 23 millimeters. Always gauge that. I'm going to eyeball it. Now, dust extraction. If you have an old version of this, check it out. I'm going to put it in here like this, and this is where, okay, and I look at this. Look, see how that's going to, I'll get it in the tabs. It's not going to fit. This is what I like to show everybody. I take this and remove this, okay? Now it'll fit. You're not going to get the best dust extraction, but it'll pretty daggone good. Always remember, this is a larger bit. Oopsie, I forgot to set depth. Always do depth with what? The power off. All right, so 13 mini. What's 8 plus 5? So you have to have an 8 millimeter domino and a 5 millimeter. I always have this glued like this. I'm going to take my bit, zero it out, take this, set it in. Oopsie. Always make sure, don't rush with this. Okay, take that like this. How's that looking, Derek? Good? Okay, I'm going to go down 13 millimeter. Now I can get my plug-it cord in. And even more important, that is a larger diameter bit. So my speed that I've always set it on, I set it between 3 and 4. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm good. Good. I'm going to bring it back over to my cup hinge. 32 up and out. 3 full holes. 23 millimeter. Woo! And let me just do this. Get it, gets the lion's share of the dust. Boy, I love Bluetooth. And let's check it out. Now I get these little tabs protruding because these are designed for a special drilling machine, but you'll see there's a 5 millimeter tab right here. And if I take this, let me just unzip these screws. I know it's only one hinge, but you'll see as I put it on there. Let's just take this. We'll take it right to the cabinet because that's a 768 cabinet over here. Okay, we'll put our hinge plate right here so Chris can get a good shot of this. We'll get our hinge plate in there like this, and you'll see where that will snap right in, and I'll have my 2 millimeter reveal. Cool? And I need to adjust the hinges, but it works out perfect. Okay, no more questions, but I want to call out Chile, Utah, and France. Wow, that's exactly where I thought we'd be if somebody asked me about the door. Okay, everybody, I just want to do a quick wrap and say thank you for watching. You have been asking for this episode ever since the beginning. It was our pleasure to present this for you. And I want to thank Festool and all the trainers worldwide, all the employees worldwide. We all love you, and we love you. Okay? So thank you so much.